everyone, and welcome back to Wind Band and Beyond, the podcast for instrumental music education students at Ithaca College and our guests. In this episode, we talk to Dr. Jim Frankel, the founder of Music First, a company that has provided tools for music teaching and learning online in the cloud for many years. Dr. Frankel joins us today to talk about some of the assessment features in Music First and how band directors and aspiring band directors can use online technologies now and in the future. I've included links to Music First and Dr. Frankel's interview with School Band and Orchestra magazine below. We hope you enjoy the show. Our guest today is Dr. Jim Frankel of Music First. And thank you so much for joining us today, Jim. I know you recently did an interview with School Band Orchestra magazine that we'll link to here and have the students read so they get a little bit of the background about what the Music First suite is and how it works. I'll also share some of those tools with them. And I was hoping today you might think about what tools are best for our aspiring band directors. So I know the Practice First tool and Note Flight, those immediately come to my mind.
Yep.
And for, I guess, context, our students are working with scores in Note Flight that they're synchronizing to play along videos. But can you maybe describe what they can do with Practice First, or how they can use more of the assessment features in the suite?
Sure. First of all, there are really only two choices out there. It's either Smart Music or Practice First. The third choice is actually Note Flight's new product, which is called Soundcheck, which interestingly enough is exactly the same algorithm as Practice First. So it gets a little bit confusing, and I'll try to navigate folks through that. But because of this whole COVID thing, we've had an extraordinarily large influx of band, choir, and orchestra directors, and they're asking us exactly what you just asked me. What do I do? So what they're doing with Practice First specifically is they're uploading their own scores. Some of them they're creating in programs like Finale, Sibelius, and then Note Flight and Flat, which are the kind of the online versions, if you will. And they're bringing those scores in and having their students, get assessed on them. It's an amazing algorithm. It's audio to audio. And what Note Flight's done with Soundcheck is that if you buy the Soundcheck add-on to Note Flight, you can, anything that you have as a Note Flight score, you can then immediately assess it. Up until this point, Note Flight, you'd be able to record, put an audio recording, but it wouldn't grade them. So yeah, over the summer they announced Soundcheck, and so now you really have three options. Two of them are the same algorithm, and it gets a little confusing, like which one should I buy, but I'm happy to describe that as well. But the whole notion of assessment software really is a tool for band directors to just make sure their kids are continuing to play. If they're in an only virtual situation, you could see it as a glass half empty, glass half full. A lot of band directors are definitely thinking it's more than half empty. It's probably only a little bit left, but I see it the other way, in that the instruments are home. They're not in a locker at school, so they can be practicing. And it's an opportunity for band directors to help each student build their individual musicianship. So there's no real need, like if you're a high school band director and you're working on Frank Ticheli's Cajun Folk Song Suite, you're either going to nail it at the performance or you're not. But there are a lot of kids that are in there kind of, like hiding, if you will. This is a really great opportunity for differentiated instruction, and that's what band directors are doing. They have kids who are struggling, kids who are excelling, kids that are somewhere in between, and they're custom tailoring those assignments to them. The other software that's really popular right now with band directors is Sight Reading Factory. And that's been around for a while now. Choral directors love it, but for band directors, it's unlimited sight reading activities. And although it doesn't assess the students, the recordings and especially if kids, we're in New York, if kids are getting ready for their NISMA evaluations, it's like the perfect tool to help them with their sight reading. So it's really Practice First, Sight Reading Factory, and now Note Flight with Soundcheck that are like the essential tools for band directors.
Excellent. I hadn't heard of Soundcheck before, so
Yeah.
we'll be sure to explore that. For Ithaca College, we've used Smart Music for years as an online assessment tool, and also not even online before they were online, when it was running on a computer. When they switched to online, a lot of our students noticed that it was very glitchy. So there was a lot of reported problems of just, it generally didn't work.
Right.
How is Practice First different?
So first of all, the fact that Practice First came out is one of the reasons why Smart Music had to address it and put an online version. And they kind of rushed it out. And I'm a longtime Smart Music customer when I was teaching. So I have nothing bad to say about the product, but they knew this web version was like infinitely cheaper. So they put it out the door pretty quick because they had such, this is just my opinion, but because they had such a huge base of customers that were used to the old version and loved it and thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, like myself. When you put out a new version and it's web only and there are glitches, they immediately just put their hands up in the air. Oh, this is terrible. It wasn't. It's not bad at all. The fact that you have varying Wi-Fi speeds, you have no idea what connection the kids are on. Are they using the right browser? There are so many variables with online assessment. So what I will say is that Practice First, when we launched it in 2014, maybe 2015, we had a very small customer base. So we had all the same issues that they have, and that is that on Chromebooks, for example, if a kid's playing a trumpet into a Chromebook, the distortion really affects the assessment. If they're, and kids are like, well, here's the computer, here's my saxophone, honk, and then they expect that microphone to have some kind of noise gate on it to accurately hear, and it just doesn't happen. So it's a little bit of trial and error. I would say that both platforms are just as robust as each other. I'm not going to knock them at all. We just do it very differently. They assess based on MIDI information. We assess based on audio information. So our feeling is that our algorithm is a lot more accurate because it's actually hearing the student, capturing that audio wave, then comparing it to the original example's audio wave, layering them on top of each other, and calculating the difference between those two audio waves. And when you compare audio to MIDI, that's where a lot of that glitching can happen. So yeah, that's the main differences between them, and I hope that makes it clearer to students. Look, if it glitches, try something different. Move the laptop away from you. See if you get a better result.
That's really interesting. I I hadn't thought about the audio and MIDI algorithms being different, and I assume the audio algorithm, is that similar to what YouTube does to kind of analyze songs? They have an algorithm that matches it with other waves. That's
exactly. So YouTube
incredible.
uses a thing called Echo Nest, which is like the greatest audio database of all time. So if you try to upload anything, it's a unique fingerprint. Every audio file is different. So when a student plays, it analyzes that shape, that waveform, and layers it over the original. That's how we do it. It's very exciting. It's very unique, the way that it assesses, and the geniuses behind the company is called Match My Sound. They were in Estonia. These two guys, Margus and Christo, were brilliant at audio analyzation, and that's what they created.
That's just amazing. Yesterday, I interviewed Brian Franco, and he shared me his Avengers score that he wrote in Note Flight, and then made a synchronized video on YouTube.
Yep.
And I recorded a little bit of the Avengers arrangement that he created and played on his trombone.
Right.
Uploaded that to YouTube. Instantly, it said copyright content, the Avengers theme song. It was amazing. So it doesn't even have to be the original. You can just play or sing
Absolutely.
a song, and the fact that algorithm is so accurate, it blows my mind.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. Brian Franco is one of the coolest music teachers out there. I love his videos, and we're partnering with YourScore, his fantastic kind of PDF version publishing company. We love Brian, and yeah, great. I'm sure he was a great guest for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and also says great things about you. So
Okay.
it's cool to see the network there in action. So you just did, as I mentioned earlier, the school band orchestra did an interview with you. The author in the title actually said that Music First is the resource that every music teacher needs in 2020 and beyond. So how do you see Music First changing the way band in particular is taught right now and then forever in the future?
Well, first of all, very kind of the author to write that. I definitely didn't ask her to, so I was really happy to see that from a business perspective. So we'll leave that there. But what Music First provides that I think is unique and is different than any of the other tools that are out there is a holistic approach. I went to teachers college and I was schooled in comprehensive musicianship. And that the idea of educating the entire musician, not just the chops and can they hit this note at this time, but the holistic musician, meaning do they know their music history? Do they know their music theory? Do they know the kind of historical context, the social justice context, the performance aspects, the sight reading? There is so much more than can you play the right note at the right time, at the right volume, to being a musician. And I'm sure you at Ithaca College, I've been up there, it's an incredible program you have. I'm sure that, you know, in a similar way, you're educating the entire musician. So what Music First does, it's very unique, is we have a suite of 10 different software titles. So it's not just that one performance lane, like can you play the right note at the right time, or can you sing the right note at the right time? There's music theory, there's an encyclopedia, there's notation, there's you know, like GarageBand, like Soundtrap and Soundation, so kids can compose, the improvisation resources. It's really, that was when I designed Music First, that was the whole essence of it, was I want to educate the entire musician. So the other thing I'll say is that I like every music teacher in the world right now, hope that this isn't permanent, right? And that we're back in our band rooms as soon as possible, whether it's once the vaccine comes, whether it's next school year, whatever it is. But what I think we've seen now, and for better or for worse, I've spent 30 years trying to convince every music teacher that technology is really cool. And when every music teacher in America was thrown into the deep end with technology and were forced to see the good and the bad, it's not all great, but they were forced to use it. I think a lot of them went, hey, this might be something that I would use, not just in this horrible pandemic time that we're in, but a way to extend my classroom in the quote unquote the old world, or hopefully, goodness gracious, when we all get back together. Because music is a very social activity, and I'm sure that every band director watching this will be like, absolutely, I want to get back in that band room as quick as possible. So yeah, we're certainly hopeful that the kind of forced use of it will lead to, hey, this isn't so bad, and what I could do to build musicianship skills. I spend every moment of that rehearsal building the ensemble, but I'm spending every moment outside of that rehearsal building the individual.
Excellent. Oh, I've talked to a few music teachers that have been veterans that have been teaching for 20, 30 years, and they've all expressed the same thing, that we all seem to be first year teachers now. We're all learning, figuring out this new way forward. The audience of this show is junior student teachers who will be doing their very first teaching experiences probably by the end of the month. Right. Do you have any advice for them as they embark on their very first teaching experiences, which will be online? That'll be, you know, most of what they know for their early teaching career. Yeah, what advice do you have for these aspiring band directors?
That's a great question. So I'm going to come from a different angle. You have to reimagine everything, right? So it's a clean slate, and in some ways that's really, really exciting. What I think I'm seeing the trend is that music teachers are becoming expert content creators. They're making videos that are extraordinary. I mean, the idea, like when March 13th happened, when basically the end of the world, occurred, every band director that I know said, how do I do virtual rehearsals, and how am I going to make a virtual concert? And they quickly learned how incredibly difficult and borderline impossible that is. I mean, Brian, your guest, is obviously really adept at video editing, but the vast majority of music teachers are not, right? And even on this call that we're having right now, Matt, there's a 500 millisecond delay, but we're not noticing it because we're not trying to sing together or play together. But if you try to play a duet, even one-on-one, it doesn't work, right? So for student teachers, what I would say is, all right, look, if imagine that you're almost a TV show producer, forget the entertainment value of it, but you're producing content for musicians, for future musicians, to get them engaged, to get them excited about it, to get them playing. And it's almost like, well, what, you know, if I was currently back in the middle school where I taught for my whole career, I would be having like a Monday morning meeting with my entire band and saying, all right, this is our goal, or these are our goals for the week. And this is what you're going to do. You're going to have a playing assignment that's due on Friday. You're going to have a music theory quiz that's due on Thursday. Remember that we have that composition that's due in a couple of weeks. And so make sure that you're handing in that draft, where we're at in the process. And make sure you get your sight reading done. There's so many great things that you can do with kids on their devices, and really get them excited about it, so that when the miracle happens and we're back in the classroom, you have those kids there. They're still engaged. It's like nothing skipped a beat. So for the student teachers, let me say this very clearly. Ithaca College has the best reputation I know of in New York State. There's maybe only Crane is the only one that is comparable, in my humble opinion, in terms of reputation. So you guys are going to do great things. You have an amazing faculty. You have an amazing education. You're going to do great things, but it's a really exciting time to rethink how you're going to do that. So content, and getting these kind of activities that are doable for every child, no matter, taking into account equity issues. Do they have these devices at home? Really thinking about it, and what, in a way, some student teachers might say this is the worst time ever to be a student teacher. I think it's a great time to be a student teacher, because if ever there was a chance to be resilient, adaptive, creative, this is it. And you'll be ready for anything once we get back into the classroom.
Wow, that is inspiring, and thank you so much for the kind words about Ithaca College. And I'll edit out the positive comments you made about Crane. So.
Oh, good. Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. Well, speaking of Ithaca, would you mind showing our students how you're representing today with the shirt?
Oh, absolutely. I am a huge. My daughter goes to Cornell, right across over the other side of the hill. I love that town. Anytime you want me to come up when we're back in the real world, Matt, I'd love to come up and meet with your students in person. I've done it in the past. I always have a great time there.
Oh, you can count on it. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you spending some time today, sharing your expertise and how Music First can assist band directors and everyone right now and in the future. Anything else you'd like to add? Did you want to sing a duet together?
I'm a tuba player, so no. What I would say is that if any of the students want to try our stuff out, just go to musicfirst.com. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a little free trial button. You could try all the software, see for it yourself, look how it works, and make sure you check out our content library. But yeah, Matt, thanks very much for having me on the show. I hope your audience gets something out of it. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jim.
You got it. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.